Three, two, one. What up, y'all? Welcome to the show. It is your friendly neighbor horror guy, the lo-fi horror guy, to be exact. As if you didn't know, thank you so much for coming back. A big thank you once again for Stan Bigsworth coming back and giving a shout out for part 2 of the video. Thank you so much. I can only say so much to appreciate such a golden god of horror, cheese, and sludge acting as Mr. Stan Bigsworth coming by and giving a shout out on my Instagram page, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, with underscores in between every word. So this is part 2. This is going to be the second half for a decade of horror. This is 2000s edition. I've already done 1980s. I've done 1990s. This is the early first half of the 2000s. So without further ado, yesterday the first half aired. I had, for 2000, I had Final Destination. For 2001, I had Jeepers Creepers. For 2002, I had Cabin Fever. 2003, I had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And 2004, I had Saw. So before I start this list, may I say, this might be out of like my, my 5 movie videos or whatever, this might be my favorite selection as far as, I love 80s, I love, 90s and everything, but going movie to movie here, I kind of was feeling like the 2000s were a little bit of a bummer as far as horror movies, and everything was remakes and everything was kind of, rehashed ideas and bad CGI and so forth, and not, and not using practical effects. There's actually some sweet movies that I have on this list, and I'm very excited to share with you guys. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start this bad boy with 2005. 2005, my selection is The Devil's Rejects. And once again, I can't find my copy of The Devil's Rejects. I don't know where it is. But I found I believe this is my Mezco figure. He's a big fella. He's, probably good 7, 8 inch. I believe, like I said, it was Mezco. I don't think it was NECA. Very detailed. This is my tiny figure. He had a hood and he had a stump from the whole short of Tiny Hump to Stump or something like that. But I thought this would be kind of fun to keep around, this little creepy bad boy. I'll set him right over here for right now. He can stay right there, right by my shoulder. Of course, The Devil's Rejects was the sequel to The House of a Thousand Corpses, both directed by Rob Zombie. It got a 6.9 on IMDb. My honorable mentions for 2005 are such as The Descent, Hostel, The House of Wax, and Feast. Feast was one of those movies where it was like a competition TV show. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was a competition TV show where the kids would go through and they had to, ultimately do different things, and then whoever won got to make a movie. And Feast was actually the movie that the winner of that show ended up making. That movie was really cool. Now that I'm thinking about that, I need to check out that show again because I thought that show was really cool. The Descent was awesome. The House of Wax was cool. Hostel, I love Eli Roth, so that movie was cool. The Devil's Rejects is just one of those movies. It was kind of a time and place thing. I've watched that movie so much. I can't say that I so much was excited or loved the CGI, as far as the gore and everything, the blood that was like shooting out, and some things I can kind of understand, but it was just like, it was quite a lot of CGI gore with this movie. But that's just a minute thing for me to complain about. The movie is awesome. It's very fun to watch. There's, creepy parts. You've got Tiny, you've got Otis, you got Sherry Moon Zombie, who of course plays real crazy. And then Sid Haig, it's always a pleasure to see him in things, and playing Captain Spaulding, reprising his role. And then they have 3 from Hell coming out here, I think within this next couple of years. So I'm excited to see that. But my 2005 selection was The Devil's Rejects. A fun fact for The Devil's Rejects was the usage of the F word and likewise words, the F word, the S word, the H word, the whatever other words that there are out there that are more of an extreme, as opposed to saying hell or ass or damn. from what my understanding is this movie actually held a record for a little bit for the most times for that word and likewise words being used until I believe it was 2005, a documentary movie which was actually called F-U-C-K, came out, and that ended up taken over. But at the time, the Devil's Rejects actually was holding a record of some sort for the most times for that word and likewise words being used in a motion picture. I thought that was kind of crazy. Just a little fun fact for you guys. Just, a little something, something, whatever. Just a little something, something. Anyway, so that was my 2005 selection. My 2006 selection. This movie is yet another remake, but hear me out here, because this is a bad mamma jamma. Definitely, if I could say, probably one of my favorite remakes, if not my favorite horror remake ever. 2006's The Hills Have Eyes. This is my unrated DVD edition. This is the 20th Century Fox, just the main basic one that came out when the movie first came out. DVD, a little insert there, nothing too special. This movie came out, I saw it probably 2 or 3 times in the theater. The Hills Have Eyes is and has always been a favorite since this movie came out. I like the original Wes Craven movie, don't get me wrong, but this movie is just as far as the monsters that are in it, the hill people, the family that's going through, the whole thing where the husband is originally, kind of a loser and, kind of, you don't really root for him because he's just kind of a pansy, and then, ultimately kind of comes through and winds up pretty much being the savior and the main protagonist of the whole movie. You really root for him, all the things that the family goes through. There are going to be spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen these movies, do not watch this. Yeah, the Hills Have Eyes movie. Like I said, I saw it multiple times in the theaters. As soon as it came out, I went out and bought it, watched it over and over. The movie is so good. Honorable mentions for 2006. And this is a little bit of a tough year too, because both Slither and The Host came out, which Slither, I absolutely loved that movie. That movie was sweet, very cool creature movie, the slugs, coming. But then The Host, which was another monster movie as well, foreign monster movie. Of course, I love my monster movies, so those ones. Hatchet came out, Behind the Mask, the story or whatever of Leslie Vernon, and Bug all came out as well. Those movies are all very cool, but The Hills Have Eyes was not going to be touched by any means. And the main makeup effect artist, which was Greg Nicotero, the one and only, he ended up playing a small role as Sisto, who was the mutant with the headgear on. He had the little halo thing on, and his head's all stuck, and Greg Nicotero actually played that character, so I thought that was kind of cool for a fun fact for you for 2006's The Hills Have Eyes. Be sure to check it out if you have not seen it. I would absolutely recommend watching this bad boy. You got the old front art, you got the back art, you got the old side fart. Boom. There it is. 2006 is The Hills Have Eyes. All right, we're moving on to 2007. 2007 is Inside. And as you can notice, this is my Blockbuster exclusive. Dimension Extreme, $9.99. I bought this bad boy. Inside. Alexandre Bustillo is the director on this bad boy. I got a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Here's the front art. Here is the back art, and we got the old side fart. Nothing amazing on the inside. Obviously, this was just a Blockbuster exclusive. Nothing really crazy to it. I actually saw this movie at Blockbuster. Obviously, picked it up without not even realizing really what it was. I saw it. Kind of heard some rumblings about that. People saying online that it was good, and should definitely check it out if you see it. I read about it. And so basically this lady is pregnant. She winds up having somebody breaking into her house. Lo and behold, throughout the story, she realizes that the lady's breaking into her house to steal the baby from the said protagonist of the movie. So she's trying to stop this woman from coming in her house. Further into the story, you end up finding out why she is so vengeful on coming in that house and getting that baby, and it just is mind blowing. The story was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. There's actually absolutely disgusting parts to the movie. It is a very frightening, interesting look at horror. Not everything is monsters, not everything is blood and gore. Sometimes things just are what you could imagine real life being, and somebody trying to cope with a terrible situation happening in life. It's just one of those things where this movie, I am very glad that it was made. I absolutely love Inside. This movie is definitely a closer look at how how sometimes people handle stress and handle negative things that happen in life. Some people just snap, and this is going to be your one. I would absolutely recommend, if you've never seen 2007's Inside, I would check it out. That movie is a bad mamma jamma. It also actually has a 2016 remake. I don't really have a whole lot of fun facts about this movie here, sadly. But there's a 2016 remake, which wasn't amazing, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't amazing. So, 2007's Inside. My honorable mentions for 2007. And may I say, this was probably the harder one for me. First off, was The Mist. I absolutely love The Mist. The short story by Stephen King isn't one of my favorites by him, but The Mist, as far as the creatures that are in the movie, I love it. It was really hard. It was really hard choosing between The Mist and Inside, but Inside absolutely won. You got The Mist, you got Frontiers, which was another very cool foreign horror movie. You had 30 Days of Night. You had Trick or Treat, which was a very refreshing Trick or Treat was directed by the same fellow that brought you Krampus, and is bringing you the new Godzilla, Michael Dougherty. So obviously, that movie's got to be great. I just love Inside more. Also, let's just keep on going here, because I keep on getting into small details about other movies. We got Frontiers, we got The Mist, we got 30 Days of Night, we got Trick or Treat, we got Dead Silence, we've got Grindhouse, which featured a great Planet Terror and Death Proof. Yet another blockbuster exclusive, Death Proof. The Grindhouse movies were absolutely amazing. You can also go into saying the Paranormal Activity movie, the first one that came out. Not my favorite, but I could definitely mention it on here for being a good horror movie. That was something original and something different for the time being. And then you've got the one and only Vacancy. So 2007 actually had some pretty good gems there. If I can throw in two, Julian Maury was the second director for Inside. It was Alessandro Bustillo and Julian Maury. That is 2007's breakdown for my favorite horror movie of that year. So 2008 is easily going to have to be the mighty, the disgusting, the terrifying Martyrs. This is my unrated edition. Might I add, the cover here, when you look at it, it's not really anything much, but if you look, this is one of the scarier scenes in this movie. There is definitely a overwhelming pessimistic feel to this movie. There is a just dark dread that comes along with watching this movie. There are scenes in it that are very reminiscent to me of when I first saw Zelda in Pet Sematary. you know, just as far as the whole synopsis to this movie, basically this girl was held captive for a long time, got to escape, went to go back to, as far as I know, went to go back to try and rescue her friend or something like that, and ends up getting her to come back, and she's just so messed up, and there's just terrible, gross things that happen in this movie. As far as a horror movie, it will terrify you. It will absolutely have your stomach turn at parts. It will have your skin crawl. Martyrs got a 7.1 on IMDb out of 10. The director was Pascal Lauger. Easy second, I could say, for Martyrs would be Let the Right One In. That movie was awesome. I absolutely loved the new kind of resurgence look at vampire movies, done right. You know, not the whole Twilight series or nothing. Let the Right One In was very great, and the remake was actually really good too. And then you also had Splinter, which was a awesome creature monster movie. The Strangers, which at the time I was living out in the back, in the middle of the woods, sitting in a basement by myself, and I watched that movie, and that movie was terrifying. You know, it was a fun ride. I still love The Strangers, but as far as my favorite, Martyrs definitely comes in first place. This is the front art, side art, back art. Let's see here. It's got the old clip case. Nothing crazy. It's just got the cover art on the disc there. This movie was kind of sought out after for a while too. You look on Amazon or eBay, and the DVD was like $30, $40 or whatever. The Blu-ray, I think, is a little expensive, if not discontinued. But there's definitely some parts in that where people ask me, you know, what's the scariest movie that you've seen? And I throw out that, not the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it's absolutely a movie where it is gross. It is worth watching for sure. Absolutely. So that was my 2008 for Martyrs. My little fun fact for that is there's actually a remake for that was made in 2015. That was a big stinker. Real big bummer. I was not a fan of that whatsoever. It's not that it was terrible, but it just wasn't great. The fun fact for this movie, though, is the director actually got the inspiration for the movie by Eli Roth's Hostel. But as opposed to Hostel being more of a movie directed at suffering, he wanted to direct this movie at pain and have the overall feeling of pain. And you know, it's one of those movies where you really want to watch it on like a sunny day or something, because at the end of it, just the overall gloom of it, you absolutely feel like it's just like it just drains you of your energy. But it is a good creepy watch for sure, so I would definitely recommend you watch it. But, you know, just maybe don't be drinking while you're watching or something, or having anything else that's going to be bringing you any more down than what you're already going to be. And that is my 2008 recommendation. Now, for your last but not least feature on A Decade of Horror 2000's edition, we are going with the great, the amazing, probably my favorite on the whole list, 2009's Drag Me to Hell. Sam Raimi's just great last horror feature that he has done. You got the front art, you got the back art, you got the old side fart. Nothing amazing as far as the disc. It's got the old fly there. Actually, the disc is pretty cool, I can't lie. The black with the fly on it. Drag Me to Hell got a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Obviously, as I said, Sam Raimi hailed this bad boy. You know, Mrs. Ganoush, you've got the lead protagonist as being the female, as opposed to, you know, how he always had Ash, and you know, the main role being the male lead. I absolutely loved that the lead protagonist in this movie was the female. I can't think. Let's see. Her name is Alison Lohman. That's right. Alison Lohman being the main protagonist in this movie. This was actually his first movie that I know of that Bruce Campbell was busy with his burn notice show, and didn't make a special cameo in the movie of things that Sam Raimi's done, you know, with Spider-Mans and so on and so forth. I think Bruce Campbell was always, you know, as a cameo, but couldn't make this one. Now, You've got the Mrs. Ganoush character. You've got Justin Long, who does absolutely great as the boy, the protagonist's boyfriend. You've got the haunting scenes in this. You've got the scenes where it's like in the parking garage, and she's fighting off Mrs. Ganoush after the whole situation has gone down at the bank. The scene where her teeth get knocked out, and then she comes and she's like gumming on her on Christine's jaw there. Absolutely hilarious. There's so many things that I love about Drag Me to Hell. I need to get a better copy of this, actually. Drag Me to Hell. I've always loved Sam Raimi stuff. There's a equal slapstick comedy goofiness as there is, to it being horror. The cool thing about this is it's PG-13. So now it's PG-13, it doesn't have to use all the blood, all the gore to be very effective as this shows. There's definitely some scary scenes in it, or at least spooky scenes. There's a whole lot of silliness, but I absolutely love it. Now, if you use your little I Spy eyes, and you look closely for the fun fact of this movie, if you look at the license plate of Mrs. Ganoush's car, which is actually the same car that was used for Bruce Campbell's character Ash in The Evil Dead, if you look, her license plate is 99951. Now, you flip that license plate over, and it spells, well, it technically spells IS666. So, is the devil. Now, it could just be maybe, conspiracy theory, but I'm telling you, you look at it, if you flip upside down that license plate there, it's going to be saying that Mrs. Ganoush is the devil, in fact. But Drag Me to Hell has so many scenes in it that are very memorable. You can't help but to love this movie. You can't help but to just absolutely adore it. I honestly would probably say this or The Hills Have Eyes remake are probably my favorite of the whole list, but it's probably going to have to go to Drag Me to Hell. So many things that I can love and rant on about this movie. Actually, this movie was written right after Army of Darkness as well. Sam Raimi and his brother Ivan Raimi wrote it right after the success of Army of Darkness, but then Sam Raimi started getting caught up in some other features and other things taking up his time. So then finally when all the time passed and he's like, oh wait, I still have this cool movie to make, he just graced us with just a random little script that he threw out in 20 minutes, whatever. So that being said, that is the end of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys, A Decade of Horror 2000's edition. As I said before, yesterday I came at you with the list from 2000, 2004. There was Final Destination, Jeepers Creepers, Cabin Fever, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Remake, Saw. Today we had The Devil's Rejects. There's my tiny figure. The Hills Have Eyes, Inside, Martyrs, Drag Me to Hell. Bam, look at all that beauty, look at all that blockbusterness. We've got a remake in there, we've got plenty of originals, we've got gore, we've got distress, we've got depression. Go ahead, let me know. I don't know about if I'm going to do a 1970s decade of horror or not. I don't necessarily love a ton in the 1970s, but there's a lot that I like, so we'll see. But let me know. Shoot me a message either here or on Instagram as far as if you have other ideas for videos. I'm so glad that you guys came and wanted to hang out with me and are interested in these videos. Thank you so much for watching. Without further ado, give me a ding, give me a dong, give me a bing, give me a bong, give me a like, give me a share. If you don't, I do not care. At the end of the day, I just want you to enjoy some 2000s original scares along with a remake that's actually really good. I actually love better than the original. Hashtag don't hate me. Hashtag just lost all my follows. Hashtag love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to slap you with the old 3, 2.
Nice.